This is the Detroit Institute of Arts. Since 1927, it has served as a cultural landmark of the city, and its vast collections have enriched the lives of millions of visitors. Among these collections are 80 or so pieces of West African art from the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Displays such as this have been commonplace in Western art museums for decades, but recent years have brought a fresh round of questioning to the issue. Should they be judged along more aesthetically minded works of art? Should they be returned to their home countries? How did they get here? In an attempt to find some answers to some of these questions, I decided to consult on some local experts in the field. I found these experts in Dr. Kwaku, the co-chief curator and department head of African, Oceanic, and Indigenous American Art at the Detroit Institute of Arts, and Jennifer Hart, the associate professor of African history at Wayne State University.
The continent generally was divided up in the 1884 and 1885 at the Berlin Conference, where European leaders came and sat down and divided up kind of spheres of influence or authority. They did that because there had been a lot of competition over land and resources on the continent. By the 19th century, European economies start to change significantly, and the Industrial Revolution creates new kinds of demands for markets and for raw materials. And Europeans didn't have the ability, there were kind of limited markets, and there were a lot of raw materials that they didn't have access to. In order to try to corner the market, they kept trying to identify new areas of the world that they could exert influence over in order to get access to those raw materials directly and cheaply, controlling them themselves instead of trading for them. So by the late 19th century, as the Industrial Revolution kicks up, they're increasingly kind of fighting over who has access to raw materials, what land is controlled by which country, and where they can also sell the manufactured goods that they produce.
On November 15, 1884, the representatives of 13 European nations, as well as the United States of America, convened in Berlin to divide up Africa. The process was led by Otto von Bismarck, and led King Leopold II of Belgium to comment, "I do not want to miss a good chance of getting us a slice of this magnificent African cake." No Africans were in attendance. As Dr. Kwaku stated, following 3 centuries of peaceful interactions, which led Africans to welcome and even allow Europeans to settle on their land, the sudden change in European attitudes toward them proved to be devastating. Although Africans had seen enough of European treachery and manipulation in the past, they had grown to accommodate these behaviors if only to strengthen their commercial ties. The European invasion and quest for absolute control of their lives and territories came as a shock to most Africans. They felt betrayed. These interactions kicked off a cross-cultural exchange in which Africa gained many new manufactured goods and cultural stylings, giving African artists new inspirations. Europe gained the raw materials, labor, and art of the continent through war booty claims, missionary theft, and the occasional instance of legitimate exchange. These actions were justified by a fresh batch of stereotypes regarding indigenous Africans, which can be broken down into 4 basic categories.
So there's primitive Africa, the idea that people are stuck back in time, that they've never changed since the Iron Age. Wild Africa, right? So safaris and the idea of the Africa as animal. The third one is the notion of exotic Africa. The photos of women with the big extended ear holes, or the plates in their lips, or the rings on their necks. Those people exist, but the obsessive focus on them is actually it's a form of fetishization. The fourth one is the notion of broken Africa. These stereotypes about Africa as being war-torn. Oh, well, all African children are child soldiers. Likewise, when things happen, in Rwanda, for example, in the context of the Rwandan genocide, one of the reasons that Europeans justified not intervening in the Rwandan genocide is that they kept saying, well, that's just another ethnic conflict.
Unfortunately, these racial stereotypes persisted, leading to the majority of African art's placement in curiosity-based wings of Western art museums. However, much traction has been made in recent years in the effort to return these pieces of art home. Regarding this, Dr. Kwaku stated, "I don't believe that all art taken during the scramble should be returned. Art that was forcibly taken as war booty, or art removed from religious shrines through European missionary deception and manipulation, or stolen or seized from palaces, and any that could be proven to have been owned communally, must be returned to their countries of origin. However, art that was personal and freely exchanged do not need to be sent back. May knowledge of every aspect of this period be spread and justice be done."